Have you ever wondered what would happen if you stopped pouring all of your energy into that special someone? What if you shifted even a small portion, even the tiniest amount of that energy into yourself? Your well being, your self care, your hobbies, your friendships, your peace. Here's the thing, in a healthy relationship, that shift would be welcomed, even celebrated. But in a relationship with a covert narcissist, it exposes the truth like nothing else. And that is what we're going to talk about today. See, pulling back your supply is not about being mean, it's about watching, listening, and learning what's really underneath. Welcome back to the Covert Narcissism podcast, where self care isn't just about bubble baths. It's also the ultimate test of whether your partner can survive without your constant attention. So I want to start by diving into this word supply. You hear it out there, the narcissistic supply, and you go, okay, what do they mean? What is this? Supply is your attention, your emotional labor, your caregiving, your meeting their needs, whether they be physical needs, mental, emotional, and so on. It's every time you smile to keep the peace. It's every time you anticipate their needs before they even know they have any. It's every time you carry the weight of their moods, their disappointments, and you clean up their messes. See, covert narcissists, they don't thrive on their own. They survive by siphoning off your energy. And many of us don't even realize how much we're giving away until we are way past empty. One woman told me, I didn't notice it at first. It started small, running errands, fixing his plate, answering his text immediately. But years later, I realized I couldn't remember the last decision I made that was just for me. Okay, well, that's supply. And that's what we've been feeding into for all these years in our marriage. That's what drains us and brings people to looking up the Covert Narcissism podcast. So, what happens when you stop being that supply? What happens when you take one step back, even a small, tiny step back? Not in cruelty, but in self care. Maybe you go for a walk after dinner instead of watching TV with them. Maybe you say, hey, I think I'll spend Saturday painting instead of bending over backwards for their plans. Maybe you go to bed early with a book instead of waiting up for them. This is not punishment. None of these things are mean and cruel, but it is a shift. It's a shift from all the way you used to be, the pouring in all the energy and the supply into them. It's a reclaiming of a little bit of space for you. And it's one of the most powerful ways to see the genuine nature of your relationship. So, a lot of people tell me I don't know what a healthy relationship looks like. Like, I've never been in one, so I don't know what that feels like or what that looks like. And I can relate to that. I definitely understand. See, in a healthy relationship, pouring energy into yourself and your own life is not a crisis. It's not seen as a betrayal or a rejection. You see, in a healthy relationship, it's embraced. And the healthy partner also might even enjoy taking space to pour their own energy into themselves. And they, kind of focus on their own life as well. So it goes hand in hand, side by side. When you take time to go for a walk or sign up for a class or even just take a quiet bath at the end of a day, your partner does not see it as rejection. They see it as part of the rhythm of life. And another very important piece of a healthy relationship is they know and recognize that a healthier you means a healthier relationship. A healthier them means a healthier relationship. Self care is important. In a healthy relationships, both partners do this self-care. It's not one-sided. Maybe you recharge by meeting a friend for coffee while your partner recharges by going fishing with a buddy or going to the gym and working out. You both support each other's need for space and self-nourishment, but you come back together fuller, stronger, more grounded, happier. It's a beautiful cycle. You take care of you, they take care of them, and you both bring that energy back to the relationship. A healthy partner says things like, you should go for your run. I'll get dinner started. Don't worry about that. Or take that class that you've wanted to for ages. I really think you should. And besides, I could use some extra time with the kids. Or they might say, I'll miss you, but I really want you to go on that trip with your friends. You need that to recharge you. I had one listener tell me about the first time that she ever took a yoga retreat for the weekend. She was no longer in the relationship with the covert narcissist. This was a new relationship, and she was nervous. This was a new marriage, and she wanted to go do this yoga retreat, and she decided to speak up and tell her husband, but she expected criticism, guilt, silent treatment, punishment. Instead, her husband embraced it. He packed a little snack bag for the drive and said, Hey, I'm really proud of you for doing this for yourself. She said to me, I've never felt so loved in my life. And she told me that she cried because it was the first time she had ever felt encouragement like that. Well, that's what love looks like. And self-care is not a threat. It's part of the relationship from both people. Because in a healthy relationship, this focus is mutual. Sometimes the relationship's focus is on them, sometimes it's on you, but the balance shifts naturally back and forth. And that's the beauty of healthy love. It does not demand your constant attention in order to survive. It actually thrives when both people have the space to breathe, to grow, and to just do their life. Now let's look at the other side of this. Because in a relationship with a covert narcissist, that same shift, that shift of taking a little bit of your own energy and pouring it into yourself, a little bit of self-care, the one that's celebrated in a healthy partnership, is seen as a threat. The moment your attention shifts from them, they panic. Remember how I said that your healthy partner enjoys the space to pour it into themselves too? Well, with the covert narcissist, they don't do that. They don't know how to do that. They don't have a solid internal sense of self, and so they survive by attaching to you. They lean on you and they drain you. When your energy turns inward to yourself, they panic because it exposes the emptiness inside of them. So instead of celebrating your self-care, they actually resent it. Instead of saying, I'm glad you're taking care of you, they start sending messages desperately, either loudly or silently. How dare you take your eyes off of me? Now, this comes out in two main ways, explosion and implosions, and I've talked about that before on the podcast. The explosions are the anger, the accusations, the emotional outburst. Why do you need to spend time alone? What are you hiding from me? It's a lot of times how the outward explosions come. But the implosions, they're just as painful, but they go inward. Sulking, withdrawing, the heavy sighs, the silent treatment, the cold silence that fills the room like a fog waiting for you to fix it. Now, here's the deeper truth. When you take care of you, it reminds them on some unconscious level that they are not whole on their own. They might not realize the pain that is exposed when you pull back your supply, but that reminder inside of them, it's unbearable for them. So instead of sitting with it, instead of doing their own work, their own self-care, their own mental and emotional and psychological work, they just push the discomfort back onto you. They make you the problem. I had one woman tell me that the first time she said no to watching football with her husband because she just wanted to go take a bubble bath, he stood outside the bathroom door knocking every few minutes. Are you almost done in there? What's taking so long? Are you texting someone? It was just a bubble bath, but that's all it took to trigger his panic. Another listener shared that when she went out to dinner with friends, her husband didn't tell her no. He didn't yell at her. He didn't confront her about it. But when she walked back in the door after dinner, he was sitting in the dark, staring at the wall. He didn't speak to her for 2 days. She said it felt like I had committed a crime, like when all I did was eat tacos with my girlfriends. I had a guy recently tell me the first time I skipped movie night to go to bed early, she barged into the room 20 minutes later and said, So you don't care about me anymore? And she sobbed. He said he spent the rest of the evening proving his love for her. You see, they often sat and watched TV in the evening, and this was the first time he had chosen to step away. But to him, it was no big deal. He was tired, and he simply wanted to rest. It didn't have anything to do with her. But to her, it was full-blown abandonment. And she couldn't see that he was exhausted. She couldn't give him space to take care of himself. Instead, she made it about her, demanding reassurance from him in that moment. He did also tell me that's when it clicked. If I can't even go to sleep early without being accused of not caring about her, what kind of partnership is this? You see, that's the difference. In healthy relationships, your self care is fuel for both of you. But in covert narcissistic relationships, your self care is seen as a betrayal. Here's the tragedy: it keeps you locked in a cycle of overgiving. Because if every attempt at caring for yourself is punished, then you stop trying. You stop caring for you. You shrink yourself down in order to keep the peace. You pour everything you have into them until there's nothing left of you. But the moment you pull back, even just a little, you then see the genuine nature of your relationship. Because if love crumbles when you take a step toward yourself, then it was never love, it was control. Now, I mentioned two different ways that this shows up: explosions and implosions. And I want to just give you a few examples so you understand what I'm talking about. But the explosions are the yelling, accusations, dramatic fights, guilt trips. You never loved me anyways. Threats of abandonment. Why don't you just leave if you don't want to spend time with me? Have you ever heard those words? It's like living with a toddler who missed a nap because all you wanted to do was go for a walk with a neighbor. The tantrums erupt because you stopped clapping for their performance. You stopped feeding all of your time and energy into them. I remember somebody telling me once that when they decided to spend a Saturday organizing their closets, okay, they wanted their closet cleaned up and they wanted to organize it. That's all they did. And her husband stomped around the house, slamming doors, muttering, "Well, I guess I don't matter then." So she thought to herself, this is what a 6-year-old says, not a grown man. And then what about the implosions? The implosions are quieter, but they're just as damaging. They might not yell, but instead they withdraw. They sulk. They turn their back on you. They ignore you. They give you the silent treatment. One woman told me the silence is worse than yelling. At least with yelling, I knew where I stood. But with silence, I felt like I was drowning in a void. This is what makes covert narcissism so confusing, is these implosions in particular, because it's not always the obvious abuse. Sometimes it's the absence of connection, the withholding, and the void. Now let's talk about the real reality that sits in here. When you stop feeding the supply into this person, this significant other in your life, that is when you really get to see the emotional maturity or lack thereof that is underneath. This is why pulling back your supply is so powerful, because it forces the truth into the light. If you ever want to know where your relationship stands, pull back your supply and watch what happens. One survivor told me the day I skipped folding his laundry and went for a run instead, he lost his mind over laundry. That's when I saw it. He didn't love me. He loved what I did for him. This is not adulthood. It's not a partnership. It's a childlike desperation for attention. Picture a toddler in the grocery store who isn't allowed to have a candy bar. There's crying, stomping, dramatic collapsing on the floor. Well, the only difference with a covert narcissist is that they're taller and they pay taxes. Here's the thing. Healthy adults know how to self-soothe. They can handle being alone for a few hours. They can use the time to work on their own life, and they know how to pour healthy energy into themselves. They can manage their own boredom. They can manage their own needs and their own feelings. They can even celebrate your independence. But a covert narcissist, they can't do that. Their survival depends on you never looking away. That's why they throw tantrums, why they sulk, why they implode, why they explode. It's not love. It's about supply. So when you stop clapping for their performance and focusing on them, when you stop handing out gold stars, the tantrums begin. And once you see it for what it is, the childlike meltdown inside an adult body, you can't unsee it. Now let's get practical for a minute. What does it look like to pull back your supply? This is things like to reclaim small choices. Order the food you want, not the food that you think they want you to have. Watch the movie that you prefer. You pick the show. Take up space. Sit on the couch with your book instead of engaging in their drama. Say no, decline a request that they have. It's okay to say no. Just because they voice something doesn't mean you have to do it. Invest some time into you. Pick a hobby, join a class, take walks, have coffee with a friend. Each small act of independence is both healing for you and revealing about them. Expect the backlash, expect the guilt trips, expect the tantrums or the silence. Expect the behavior that they've shown you for how many years now? But also expect clarity. Expect to learn something about your relationship that you may have been afraid to face. There is nothing wrong with putting some of your energy into yourself. And I'm going to go even further and say there is everything right about putting some of your energy into you. And if your relationship cannot survive you taking care of yourself, then it's not a healthy relationship. It's not a partnership. It's a contract where you keep giving and they keep taking. Here's something I want you to try this week. I want you to choose one act of self-care, something small, but meaningful to you. Notice their reaction. Don't argue, don't explain, don't justify yourself. Just observe. Journal about it. Ask yourself, did I feel supported or punished? Did their response leave me lighter or heavier? Was what I did mean to them, or was it not even about them? These reflections can become the foundation for your clarity. Pulling back your supply is not mean. It's not cruel. It's about taking care of you. It's about honesty. It can test the health of your relationship in the simplest, clearest way possible because love celebrates your independence, control punishes it. So try it. Take a little of that energy you've been giving away and pour it back into yourself. Then watch what happens. If they support you, there's health. If they punish you, well, that's your truth. Your worth is not found in endlessly giving yourself away. Your worth is already inside you, and it's time to reclaim it. Your story matters, and you deserve to be heard without judgment. Until next time, I wish you so much peace on your journey of healing. The information provided by Renee Swanson, Covert Narcissism Podcast, and CNG Life Coaching is for educational purposes only and is not to be used for diagnosis purposes. It is not intended to be a substitute for clinical care. Please consult a healthcare provider for guidance specific to your case. This material discusses narcissism in general. Renee shares stories from her personal experience as well as from those that she has worked with for several years. Her material does not claim that any specific person has narcissism and should not be used to refer to any specific person as having narcissism. Permission is not granted to link to or repost this material to support an allegation or support a claim that any specific person is a narcissist. That would be an unauthorized misuse of the material and the information provided. Thank you.